Good morning. We're holding Parshas Balak. And as we know, that Balak hired Bilam, this great prophet of the non-Jews, which we know the reason why he gave a prophet to the non-Jews. Because if we had a prophet like Moses, we will be much better. But here Balak thinks he's going to hire a prophet to curse out the Jews. Well, the Jewish nation is a prized nation. And we see that because of Balak, that's the reason why we call this Parshas Balak, not Parshas Bilam. You know, the Rambam says Parshas Bilam, that Balak brought out the promise of the redemption. We see something very interesting. By Yosef HaTzadik. It says over there that he was king, but just a chair he kept away from Yosef. What is a chair already? And we know also, we're talking about David HaMelech, King David, he was the first Mashiach. As we know, he was well versed in Torah. His whole life was to build a dwelling place for God in this world. He fought the wars of God. He was the first Mashiach. And it says, and as we know, that David HaMelech had no life of his own. Adam Rishon gave him life. Avraham gave him life. Yitzchak gave him life. Yosef, she lived 110 years alone. And as we see that he had great-grandchildren on his lap. Which we don't see by the other brothers. And nevertheless we see that he enjoyed the life. He had long life compared. The long life that he had was his great-grandchildren. Not his year's life. May the brothers live longer. He also didn't live the life of his father or his grandfather or his great-grandfather. He gave 37 years of his life to David HaMelech. And why didn't he have the chair of Paroi also? He got the crown of Paroi. He got everything of Paroi. Only the chair. Because the ultimate of Malchus is the way you sit on the chair. You're connected with the nation. And that he had to wait for David HaMelech. But Yosef was the first king in the Torah, a Jewish king. And he gave 37 years of his life to David HaMelech. And David HaMelech sat on the throne of God. He was connected with all Jews. He had the complete melucha of Yosef HaTzadik. We're coming from Gimel Tammuz. Also, it's 142 years since the birth of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe. We know that he said, it's not only him that was redeemed from prison. All Jews. Even the ones that are called Jews by the name of Jew. So there's a story of a student of the Oxford College in university in England. He was on a flight, and suddenly he hears one of the stewardess calling, "Is there any Jews on the flight?" So he right away comes. They send him to the head stewardess. The head steward said, "Look, there's a Jew on this flight. He was pushing us and nudging us to find a Jew. So do you want to speak to him?" He said, "Yes, no, I have no problem with that." This Jew had a lot of problems in his life. One is that he was marrying a non-Jew. He was connected to a non-Jew. And the rabbi on the chair, which was looking for a Jew, tells him as follows: "I was by ordinance of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told me throughout this, sometime during this audience, that you can find Jews anywhere, even on a plane. You don't have to just find Jews on land." And he gave me a Tanya. So he says, here's the Tanya. It was bookmarked somewhere. It was bent over page over there. On that page it says, the lowest Jew can go on self-sacrifice. That means he could be a nothing. Didn't fulfill Torah mitzvahs. He might even did Averis. But he can go on self-sacrifice. He would go on self-sacrifice for God. And he took the Tanya, and that helped him that he should not marry this non-Jew, and he became a full-fledged Orthodox Jew. And whenever he saw some rabbis trying to convince students, he used to show them this Tanya where it says the lowest Jew can go on self-sacrifice, can reach the highest levels. So you see, the Frierdiker Rebbe said that every Jew was redeemed. And the Frierdiker Rebbe has seen also children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, Chasidei Chabad, all preparing for the revelation of Mashiach. And we know how the Frierdiker Rebbe suffered in prison just for spreading Judaism. And there was such a iskafia that the ones that put him in prison had to release him from prison. And when there was a grandchild or great-grandchild of a chassid that wanted to take the Friedrich Rebbe's tefillin, Talis and tefillin, when he came to arrest the Friedrich Rebbe, he said, "Can I please hold your Talis and tefillin?" My great-grandfather did it also. His great-grandfather was a chassid. And he held out to Rebbe's Talis and tefillin. Friedrich Rebbe said no. Because even going into prison, he was a balabas over the prison. He gave us the strength, no matter where you are. You can be a balabas over your surroundings. You don't have to fall into your surroundings. You don't have to fall into your Yetzer Hara, evil inclination. Surroundings can have an effect on a person. But the Friedrich Rebbe was teaching us that we are in charge. And he gave us the strength to be in charge. It said over there that in that prison, everyone had to clean up the cell. Every day it had to be cleaned up. Everyone had to clean up his spot. The Friedrich Rebbe never cleaned up. Someone else cleaned up for him. Or the prisoners over there cleaned up his spot for him. Now, if the officers saw that, they'll put the guy in prison, in another prison, or maybe shot to death. You don't do a work for someone else. But that was throughout the whole time that they cleaned up for him. We see over here is that even though we might not be in his level, but he gives us the strength to be in his level. And this strength he gives to this generation that will leave Galus, to the Mashiach HaAchroin, the last Mashiach. Just like Yosef HaTzadik gave 37 years of his life more than the others gave. That gave strength to David HaMelech to become the first Mashiach. And the Friedrich Rebbe gave us strength in this generation. We don't have prison sentences for doing mitzvahs nowadays. It's all dependent on our will, what we want to do. And it's brought down also that Talmud Chacham is called Shabbos. What's the reason for that is? Because on Shabbos, everything is done before Shabbos. You don't have to do anything on Shabbos. No work. You just have pure pleasure of Shabbos. All cooking is done before Shabbos. All cleaning is done before Shabbos. When it comes Shabbos, it's clear. Pure tainug. That's what the Friedrich Rebbe did also in prison. He had pure tainug in certain effects, certain areas. He said he was able to daven barichus. We are all dependent on our will. If a person really wants, when he's davening, he can commit to davening. Learning, he can commit to learning. And do mitzvahs with pleasure. Know that Hashem gave you mitzvahs in order to overcome the galus. It says Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi, were not under the jurisdiction of Paro's torture. Closer to this generation, the Rogatchover, his son or son-in-law came up to him and brought him 2 letters or 2 accounts, 2 counts of taxes that he had to pay. One tax he paid, the other tax he didn't pay. The son-in-law came out, why? You can be in trouble. In Russia those days, you don't play games with the government. A day later, he got a letter saying that the second tax he didn't have to pay. It was a mistake. So if we commit with Judaism, you have no problem. Hashem gives you whatever you need. Just like Bilam says, we don't deal with sorcerers. We're in a different ball game. Others are under galus, exile. We are above galus. We cannot be cursed by anyone because we are above. So when we commit to Judaism, and we're not saying that you have to commit your whole life at once. Just know when you're serving God, commit to God. No cell phones, no ringing bells of the house, no phone calls or text or WhatsApp comes when you're learning or davening. Just to commit to God when you're doing mitzvahs. And Be'ez Hashem will come to the time when the Nachash, when the snake will again be the Shamash, Hagadol that was before the Chet Eitzadas, that something which caused the Chet Eitzadas, that in itself will be transformed. And as we see by the Frierdiker Rebbe, the same people that arrested him had to redeem him, send him home. So Be'ez Hashem, the Gula Mitzvah Shlema will come, and we just have to put an aleph into Goyla. The word Goyla represents Golos. The aleph into Goyla becomes Geula. We'll have the ultimate redemption imminently right now. Long live our master, teacher, and Rebbe King Mashiach forever and ever. Long live our master, teacher, and Rebbe King Mashiach forever and ever. Long live our master, teacher, and Rebbe King Mashiach forever and ever.